Greetings, I'm Leo Mazo coming to you here from the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. It's an honor to welcome Stephen McCarthy and Charles Arthur, and thank you and thank everyone tuning in today for joining us in Richmond Sessions 22-23. A little bit about our musicians here. Born and raised in Richmond, Stephen McCarthy is a multi-instrumentalist and singer-songwriter. His work with the Long Ryders, starting in the 1980s in Southern California, helped establish the genre of modern Americana. Some might argue that it helped sow the seeds for alt country as well. Currently, Stephen divides his time between family and touring the U.S. and Europe with the Long Ryders and the Jayhawks, with whom he's also recorded quite a bit. 2 collaboration albums with his old friend, California-based singer-songwriter Carla Olson will be released this year. Actually, one was just released.
Yes, they were both released, yeah.
Right, as well as a just completed Long Ryders album due in early 2023.
Exactly. Now, we cut that in California this summer, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
I had to reach you in California.
Yes, well, that's kind of where I started. I mean, I started in Richmond, Virginia, but really my recording career started in California. And we were lucky to have our old producer, Ed Stasium. You know, he was our boss on this record, like the last one 30 years ago. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Getting back to the Carla Olson, that's Night Comes Falling.
That's the album title, yes.
Album title
yes.
with her. Charles Arthur is also a guitarist, multi-instrumentalist living here in Richmond. He's taught since 2001 at the University of Richmond, where he's also an ensemble director. Charles began the blues-based American Roots ensemble at University of Richmond around 2008. Is that right?
Correct.
He has toured nationally and internationally, including with Slaid Cleaves. Mm-hmm. He provides music as well for public radio's A Grain of Sand, which airs on Richmond's WRIR. But as you told me when I was reviewing these notes, you're really a working musician.
Correct.
And that sums it up best
Mm-hmm.
to the core of who you are. But at any rate, I think we can all agree that here we have 2 of the guitar greats who call Richmond home. Now, you're contributing, you're sitting here in a recording studio that itself is in the galleries of the exhibition Storied Strings, part of a project called Richmond Sessions 22-23, which features a recording studio, as you can see, within the exhibition Storied Strings, Guitar and American Art, organized by the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. The exhibition includes about 125 works of art and over 30 guitars divided into 17 themes, ranging from politics and gender to blindness, race, and ethnicity. Linking these themes is the premise that guitar, as a visual motif, has long enabled artists and their human subjects to tell stories that otherwise would go untold or undertold. And this, Richmond Sessions 22-23, in turn, is a showcase for contemporary musicians to record songs to demonstrate the power of the guitar as a means for telling stories, invoking universal themes, and weighing in on myriad events. So, telling stories. I understand that you all have come up with a few songs you're going to play that show both the ability of the guitar to tell stories, or at least to facilitate stories, and that what does that mean? How can a guitar tell stories, Stephen?
Well, great question. I mean, the guitar, it can really touch on so many different facets, emotions that people feel in life. You know, it can be a happy song, a sad song, it can be something angry. It can, you know, as you've said here in your great exhibit, that, you know, can touch on the protest movement, people, you know, blues music, and people have been held down for many years, and church music. You know, you can go through this whole facet. And so Charles and I have done many sessions together, and we're either doing our own recordings or backing other people. So it really just depends on the mood of what people are writing. But pretty much any emotion you could feel, you can express that with the guitar. And we both have a basement or an attic full of instruments, and when we get called to play on a session or do our own thing, it's like, what works the best? So a lot of our instruments are vintage, they're old, and they have a great sound, the resophonic guitar, 12-string guitar. So really, Charles can speak for this himself, but I mean, I feel like since I was 10 years old, I've been kind of attached to the guitar. And think about it, you know, maybe too often, but it's
Sure.
I mean, that's, I think all I was meant to do here is maybe play guitar or write songs.
Charles, how about you? How deep is your attachment with the good guitar?
Oh man, I think anything in my life anything good that's ever happened to me, and that meeting my wife, meeting all my friends, the fun that I've had, it's all because I play guitar or another instrument. But guitar was my first instrument that I kind of got into deeply, and I branched off to other things from there, as I guess Stephen probably did the same thing. So, but I as far as telling a story with it, you know, I'm always the guy who's backing up somebody else who's telling their story, at least with their words and lyrics and stuff. So, but you know, I let someone else tell their story that way, and then I try to accentuate their story with some sounds that I feel like help out the story a bit. So.
Well, to the extent that sounds can tell stories, you all have prepared a few songs. Can you play one of them for us and tell us what you're going to be playing?
Sure. I have a couple songs from different groups I've played with. This first one is a song called Ivory Tower, written by Barry Shank. I sang it on the album, and it came out many years ago with the Long Ryders. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. My friend lives in an ivory tower. She's protected from misery. She doesn't worry, she's got power. She controls all she sees. Still her blinders work too well. She don't listen when you try to tell her. It's too late, that ivory tower's falling down. Down a rose-lined lane with her thoughts up in the air. Though she never has known pain, well, she still admits she cares. Still her blinders work too well. She don't listen when you try to tell her. It's too late, that ivory tower's falling down. Gotta be careful what you say to her. Still you gotta be careful what you say. She'll go away. My friend lives in an ivory tower. She's protected from misery. She doesn't worry, she's got power. She controls all she sees. Still her blinders work too well. She don't listen when you try to tell her. It's too late, that ivory tower's falling down. Too well. She don't listen when you try to tell her. It's too late, that ivory tower's falling down. It's too late, that ivory tower's falling down. It's too late, that ivory tower's falling down.
Nice.
There's your 12-string.
There's your 12-string. So, seems like the 12-string is just made for thoughtfully strummed E minor chords.
That's the one, yeah. It's got a good jangle to it, and that's
It
sort
does.
of like part of our sound. Sid Griffin, the other guitar player in the Long Ryders, plays the acoustic and electric 12. Does a
Right.
great job. Yeah.
So, I noticed in this song is, well, first of all, you have a B flat and a bridge, which is not something you normally associate with any minor key. But you also, I like how in the, maybe it's the verse where you go to that A7th chord, and it adds a bit of surprise. You know, how intentional was it for, I mean, was Barry your colleague, songwriter?
Yeah.
Was he thinking about mixing it up? I don't want just another E minor D
it's
song.
kind of hard for me to get into his head right now.
Sure.
The song was written a little while ago, but it does give it a bit of a lift there. And it sort of has a minor, major modal sound to it. So there's, you know, it's dark and then it's not, and then it is.
Right.
So, and it is, you know, the theme is somewhat, goes with that, you know, of what he's talking about in the song and what I'm singing about, yeah.
So when you're playing a 12-string, I haven't played a 12-string much, certainly not recently anyway, except for yours. This is your 12-string, right?
It is, yeah.
So when you're playing this, what are the challenges of playing lead on a 12-string?
Well, the string spacing is a lot closer together, so yeah, it's easier to get kind of hung up a little bit. I don't know, Charles, what would you say about that?
Well, I don't use it that much. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think some of the tension of the string seems to be a little more than a regular guitar, and you don't have the bending. You can. It's dangerous because you'll knock it out of tune if you know.
Or break a string.
Or that. Yeah. So it's just the way it feels. There's just a little more going on having the courses of string. The doubles is yeah.
Yeah, a lot of tension on the neck when you've got, you know, the 12 strings here, so it's really pulling. And this guitar, these old Guilds have 2 truss rods in there to strengthen the neck. A lot of people, I think I saw at your house the other day, will tune it down because there's so much pressure against the neck. And this one, luckily, is held up okay. Charles
it's a beautiful instrument.
He has an electric 12-string. That's another nice sound, and that's sort of like a big part of the Long Ryders sound. That sort of jangly sound that we had going on. That we were influenced, you know, Roger McGuinn, the people that came before us.
Paisley-esque.
Yeah, the Paisley Underground. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and Tom Petty carried that on, and so we were sort of like a link in the chain.
Charles, can you tell me about the beautiful Gibson you're playing there?
Well, this is Stevens. It's a J45, probably mid-60s, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I have another just like it, except it's natural, and I think that's for that reason it's called a J50, but it's the same guitar. And I don't know. I think I've started to like these from playing with the Austin singer-songwriter Slaid Cleaves, my old friend, and he was the first person I saw play one of these, and I love the sound of it. He still plays the same guitar. It's just beat up. It's but these, they have what they call the slope shoulders on them, and so the shape is always pleasing, and I think their sound is, you know, they're not like, I have never heard one that's sort of like a Martin per se. You know, the Martins are, I think the thing if you got a good Martin, you generally say it's a Canon because it's loud and bluegrassers love them. But these guitars, I don't feel are Canons, at least the ones I've played. But they seem to be nice and balanced between the low end and the mid and the high end. And
sure.
So I love to strum on these. I've spent so much of my musical career playing rhythm guitar, which I love to do. And these are fun to play. I don't know, it just feels good. Feels like home.
A little darker than a Martin or so. You know, you'd hear old Dylan records. He's playing his Gibson.
Sure.
Yeah. So these are just, I don't know. And now mine, when I bought it, when I opened it up out of the case, it smelled really good. And still retains that smell. I bought it in probably 1991, and still smells great. That's important when you buy on a guitar.
Guitars and books can both smell good.
yeah.
Although I bet they can also smell bad.
I don't know. I haven't smelled a bad one yet. I don't know.
So, Stephen, tell us about the resonator guitar.
All right, well, he's playing my guitar. I'm playing Charles's guitar, so I'll let him talk about this a little bit.
Tell us about the resonator.
I mean, I bought it from an old friend of mine, and the neck was really warped, and it turned out to be, fortunately, a real easy fix. I think that guitar is from the 30s. I mean, it's made by a company called National. I'm not an authority on this kind of thing, so I can only, draw from what little I know. But yeah, the body's metal, and it's got what they call a resonator in it, which Sort of gives the sound a little more focused than, say, a round hole on a guitar. And I think they designed it that way to make it louder. Back in the days, I guess, pre-amplification days.
Right.
I think that is a national triolean. They have like duolians and trioleans. I don't know for sure. But I tell you what, whoever had that guitar played it a lot because it was well worn. And I'd give anything to know who had it and where it was at and what music was played on it. But It's a wonderful guitar. It's probably maybe my favorite one. I've used it a lot on sessions. It's good. You know, like strum that thing, Stephen. See, it's different. You know, see, this is a little more, you know, just softer. And that's got, that's just got.
Can you all play a song? Joining these two?
Sure.
Together?
This is an old song. Actually, I produced an album on Sarah Arthur, Charles's wife, who I believe is nearby. There she is.
All right, I'm ready when you are.
All right, so CEA. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Desert sun, high and dry and troublesome. Well, because we let our sweet love die, this will be my last goodbye. This will be my last goodbye. Well, can't you see it in my eyes? Looking out on western skies. Because we let our sweet love die, this will be my last goodbye. This will be my last goodbye. Darling, now this will be.
So, My Last Goodbye.
My Last Goodbye, and that's a record Sarah Arthur had out a number of years ago, and Charles played on. Played about everything.
Stephen produced it. Yeah.
Did Sarah write this?
That's a song of mine.
Song of yours?
Yeah.
Tell me what kind, Charles, what do you think you get with those deep, soulful, even when you're not using the big Bigsby, there's a real emotive, you know, we talk about chord and note voicings.
Yeah.
That's a very vocal instrument, for lack of a better word.
Well, a lot of it has to do with this this tremolo that I have down and the reverb. So it just gives you an atmosphere. The throbbing, the pulsing, maybe is a better word.
So you attribute that to the settings on the amp?
I can accentuate a little more. And then you can do a little with that, the whammy bar, as they call it.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun effect. You get a lot out of a little. You know, you don't have to play very much, but it speaks a lot. Most guitarists would probably associate this kind of guitar. The first thing they would think about a Gretsch with a whammy bar. They think about rockabilly, and it is kind of good for that. This is actually a good versatile guitar, I think, but it does. And so the thing to do is to put a little echo on it, so you can go. Hear the little slap, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then that makes you want to go. I don't know if do you want a song? Do you want?
I do want a song.
Okay,
sure.
All right. Ready.
Yeah, that's a great sound. I mean, so many guitar players that we love from Nashville, from California, you know, would employ that basic sound. You know, early Elvis records, old blues records, country records.
Yeah.
Just real basic, just a little slap back, a guitar right straight into an amp.
Well, let's say just to be a master of the obvious, it's a beautiful instrument too.
Yeah, this one has a pretty
I'm not even
unique,
sure what I'd call that color.
I don't know. I mean, I
silvery
think this is,
green.
Well, yeah, that sounds good. I think this is maybe was used on drum kits or something. You know,
right?
You know,
it does look like that.
Yeah, you don't see this color much. I went online and I saw one picture. More common is to see a blue shade, like the ones in America. But this was made in Japan, and in the early 2000s, and that's all I know about it. I don't know too much. But it just felt good. It was nice and light and had a good sound, and the neck felt good. So I wanted a Gretsch. A Gretsch is a Gretsch. It's its own thing.
Right.
You know? So, yeah.
It's hard not to think about Chet Atkins when you think about a Gretsch too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, but there's a whole other genre you're kind of getting into with that rockabilly echo reverb.
Yeah. Well, that's for me. It's, you know, I think of those rockabilly guys, the early Elvis records, and the Gene Vincent, who's from here in Virginia, and yeah, that's a definite.
Chet Atkins lived here for a brief time. We came up with the Carter family. Were here for the old Dominion barn dance when they had that here in the 50s.
Wow!
So that was a great thing.
Yeah.
Chet, any Chet on?
Well, that was my Chet right there, pretty
Chet,
much. Yeah. Well, Chet and Merle Travis, you know, that's my nod to Merle Travis.
Yeah.
Same with that. Yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, are there other songs you'd like to play us on these instruments, or is it telly time?
Sure.
I think it's telly time.
We can try that.
Yeah,
So we'll shift a little bit here.
That's got the slap back. Do you want a little more?
Steve, are you gonna? You're obviously you use the B bender all the time, seemingly without even thinking about it. Do you want to explain to the audience what a B bender is?
Well, Clarence White, an amazing guitar player, started off in bluegrass and went into sort of country rock, joined the Byrds, and he was wanting to get a sound that would be able to mimic a pedal steel. And Gene Parsons, they were friends and partners in the group. He was able to come up with a device, this B bender. There's a big rod that goes through the back of the guitar. You can't see because it's covered up. But this rod comes through here, and you use this strap to get it going, and then it turns this knob here. The string comes through here, and it bends the B string up a whole step, which is, and it kind of will mimic a pedal steel. I play the pedal steel. Charles plays the lap steel. We both are, have a lot of interest in this sound. Play a little bit of that sort of a GC thing. So yeah, so that it'll get a bit of a sound that'll, I mean, not really exactly what a pedal steel would sound like, but if you have the right person playing, Clarence White certainly would be. Marty Stewart is great, and so it's something I've enjoyed. And
look at it from the other side. Can't you get some of that sound from your careful picking and bending?
Well, sure, yeah.
Anyway?
I mean, you could do this. So yeah, I can do it without it, but there's certain things when you do chords. There's certain riffs that you could play, and that would be
it's impossible.
kind of difficult, if not impossible, to do.
Because it's on the B string, do you really have to do it in certain like E and B and C sharp and? So does it take it from
it could
B?
be in a minor mode.
So does it take you from B to C sharp, or B to C?
It goes up a whole step. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes up to C sharp. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a you can't get strings bending the opposite direction very easily. Like I can't. So it's dangerous too. Yeah, you got to be careful. But we've got a song. It's on the new record with Carla Olson, and I've never played this before. We can give it a shot and see if we can get through it.
What's it called?
The song is called "Just to Get to You." 1, 2, 3. Well, how many ways can I say it before you believe that it's true? I climb and never stop up to the mountaintop just to get to you. My world was filled with sorrow, pining for love that had gone. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I struggled from dusk till dawn to find where I belong. I've been down the line trying to make you mine. What else can I do? Many roads I've been down, see the tracks there on the ground. Things that I've been through just to get to you. You can search this whole world over to find what you're looking for, but I found my 4-leaf clover right outside your door. lonesome days no more. I've been down the line, trying to make you mine. What else can I do? Many roads I've been down, see the tracks there on the ground. The things that I've been through, just to get to you. Many roads I've been down, see the tracks there on the ground. The things that I've been through, just to get to you. Just to get to you. So there's a little B bender for you.
That's a lot of B bender. Stephen McCarthy, acrobat.
Well, yes. Normally you'd be standing up playing this, so it's a little bit awkward on the couch.
Yeah. Charles, have you played B benders much?
I do. I have one. Yeah, I've done a little bit, but that's a whole rabbit hole to go down. I can do just a few sort of things on it.
He does just fine on it. Let me tell you.
I'm sure you both do. We are later this week. We're having Joe Glazer visiting us. I don't know if you all know.
He makes a good. He makes a great B bender.
Yeah, he does.
I think he has a patent for it. Actually,
yeah, he has it's a different design.
And he has a G bender too.
Yes.
Yep.
And we're gonna have him and Walter Carter are both coming here.
Cool. That's great. I think there's our lighter. This is about almost a 10-pound guitar.
Good Lord.
9.5 pounds. So.
Doesn't your back give out?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, one night, I had a hip shot, and that was like a guy in California, Dave Borsoff, made the hip shot. We were playing one night in Copenhagen, and there was a ship strike in the shipyard. And these guys came up, and it was a really low stage that we were playing on. And the guy kept charging me on the stage. And I didn't really know what to do. I said, hey, you got to step back a little bit. So finally, and the hip shot was attached back here. So finally, I had to just, boom, I just kind of had to give him a little nudge to get him away from me, right? I think he was a bit intoxicated. Well, the entire hip shot just crumbled into about 30 pieces on the floor. So it's nice to have a real one that won't come apart.
Never heard that. That's good.
Yeah.
Can you explain for people what a hip shot is?
Well, the hip shot, it's like if you wanted to have a B bender, but you didn't want to drill into your guitar. So it attaches.
Show them the back.
Yeah,
it's quite an operation.
So the back of this, I was showing earlier that the contraption here. There's a bar that comes through, and the way that you engage it is it's hooked to the strap.
Right.
So you can hear the. And yeah, you can get a G bender. Sometimes one will go up and one of them will come out the other way. A guy that lived 2 doors down from me, Lynn Hall, we played music way back, ended up becoming a pilot. He had a palm pedal or 2 palm pedals. And that's actually, getting back to where I first really learned about this, the band The Eagles came to Richmond in 1971, and I remember they were touring off of their second single, a song called Witchy Woman.
Sure.
And Bernie Ledden was in the band, and he played a B bender. And when I looked at him, I remember he was on the left side of the stage, facing the stage. And I was like, what is that sound? That guy's making his guitar sound kind of like a pedal steel. What is that? So that kind of, lit a fuse a little bit. And, I was like, all right, well, I need to find out more about that. And then I went to see the Earl Scruggs review a couple of years later, and his son Randy Scruggs was playing with a palm pedal. So I was kind of interested to find out more about that. And then my neighbor had one also.
But the hip shot is...
The hip shot, you have one, right?
Yeah, it does the same thing. It does it in a different mechanism and a different motion. Like he's getting that action by pulling the neck of the guitar downward.
Right.
Yeah, like so if he wants to bend, he's got to push the neck down like that. A hip shot is mounted. It's like it's a bar that's back here, and the motion there is you push the guitar this way, as opposed to that way. Yeah. So it's actually much less intrusive, because that thing had to get drilled out big time. Hip shot, I'm not saying one's better than the other. I think this is sort of the
hip shot does help you ward off unruly audience
theoretically strikes, yeah. Until it just crumbles into
They need
nothing.
to work on that. They need to strengthen it.
Right.
Yeah.
The guy who invented it, Dave, who I knew a little bit way back when I got the thing 40 years ago. Their company in Los Angeles, they invented some volume pedal for like laugh tracks on TV shows. They would volume the laughter, and I remember that's one thing that they did. Yeah.
Well, speaking of lap steel, it's not a pedal steel guitar; it's a lap steel.
No, but that's everyone gets that. It's okay because it's the fact that it's on legs makes you think it's a lap steel. But
I can't see the top of that. What brand is that, Charles?
That is. This is a Fender.
Okay.
Actually, Stephen and I bought this together. We split it because, I don't know. We didn't want to spend the full amount, so we split it.
Is that the one you play with the Jayhawks too?
No, not this one, but one nearly identical. Yeah, we counted up the other day, and he's, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
but we use them. They're not just sitting on a wall. We actually use these instruments. I mean, I've got two pedal steels. He's got.
I got one. Well, I got two. I got an early pedal steel, and I got a modern one, yeah.
So we have 15 pedal steel, lap steel, console steels between us.
So this is a
lap steel. Well, lap steel, I guess some people would call it a console steel because it's on legs.
Yeah.
But we could take the legs off, and I could play it on my lap, and that would be a little more obvious. But to me, it's just all the same smell. It's just the steel guitar family. It's you play it with a bar. And so
how heavy is that bar?
This one's pretty light. I learned how to play with a smaller bar. I like it. I like it because you can move it around a little more rapidly than the big heavy bars. And plus, this only has 6 strings. Pedal steelers, their instruments have 10 or sometimes even 12 strings. Maybe even more. I think Robert Randolph might even have more than that. Yeah, they tend to use a heavier bar, I guess, most of the time. So,
how would you characterize the effect you get from a lap steel guitar?
It's expressive because the fact that you don't have frets allows you to go, instead of on a guitar you would go from one note to the other, and you could bend, and get this sound. Whoops, a little out of tune, but yeah, this allows you got no choice. You've got to. Anyway, it's just very it just allows you to. I don't know. I like it because one of the things I love about lap steel is that you don't really have the option, at least I don't, to play a lot of notes. And some people have proved that to be wrong, Buddy Emmons and people like that. But for me, I like it because you don't have to play a lot of notes and you can get a lot of expression out of a little, one note with just... I love that. Just
that's
that
some
kind
serious
of thing.
Sustain.
Yeah, well, the volume pedal. See, that's what I'm swelling into the note. Like that's a volume pedal doing that work for me. So you start with kind of either no volume and swell into the note. They call it swelling, or you can hit the note with a little bit, and you can use the volume pedal to make it sustain a little more than it normally.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you all are going to play a song?
Yeah, we're going to play a song. And as I'm looking at Charles, I'm looking up on the wall of these old Hawaiian albums, and that's the steel guitar was really prominent in Hawaiian music. You can see the tuning. The 6th tuning was, Yeah.
Western, country Western too. Yeah. Cowboy, yeah.
Became popular. You know, a lot of, you know, my father was stationed at Pearl Harbor. Luckily, he wasn't there for the invasion. He was there a few, you know, like 6 months afterwards. And, but he came back, brought Hawaiian records and was sending coconuts, you know, back and forth. And then that, you know, the Hawaiian music, that's so great. We had a band for a little while playing Hawaiian music, and we collected all these albums. And then that kind of came into country music. And Jerry Bird would go back then. He was like the master, one of the masters of the lap steel. And he ended up going back to Hawaii, or going to Hawaii and teaching over there for many years. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a great thing to have, you know, in music and in your songs. It's just a great sound. I play the pedal steel. Charles is much better on the lap steel. But here's a song called "Talk of the Town." It was actually, here's another song that was on Sarah's record, Charles Arthur's wife, Sarah. The town when you're around, where you flash emerald eyes, you know I'm hypnotized. It seems so clear as you disappear. There's secrets they tell, no, they can't break your spell. Deep in the night, is that where she's going? Down to the bright lights there are glowing. Talk of the town, they won't slow you down with the lies that they weave. You know, I just can't believe. Temptation comes as the moon lights your face. Then I turn around and someone is there in my place. You know life can be cruel, and who's played the fool? Well, it seems now I've found just who's been the talk of the town. Talk of the town. Talk of the town.
Good rock and roll ending.
That's right. A Hawaiian rock and roll ending.
That's a little hybrid genre for you there. Well, that's great. The lap steel sounds almost like an extension of the voice, sort of a dynamic range of like a chorus or backup singers almost.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. And, have you heard of the sacred steel players, the black gospel players who, it's an amazing thing. I think it kind of sort of became public. They started putting out records, and maybe in the late '90s or something. I was already kind of formed when that came out. They call it Sacred Steel. Robert Randolph would be someone who's sort of gone from that world into more pop, or I don't know, just more mainstream kind of thing. But talk about a vocal thing. They're imitating. They're doing all sorts of things, but one of them is extremely vocal in a different way than I'm doing, which is cool. I think it's great that you could. I mean, that's the whole thing about talking about expression and telling your story. I mean, it's the fascinating thing to hear someone pick up an instrument, same one that you play, but they play totally different. And and that I would recommend checking out some of the Sacred Steel Arhoolie records. Yeah, and that'll blow your mind. It's beautiful, amazing, powerful stuff. But I tend to, and I don't know. I think Stephen and I come from that Hawaiian world and from the country world. And there's Santo and Johnny for me is a big one.
Yeah.
The Sleepwalk. What is that?
The Robert Randolph and the Sacred Steel guys, they will really turn up the amp or add some distortion, and it really takes the instrument to a place that it maybe wasn't, at least in contemporary times, they really amplify it and just give so much more expression.
That definitely was not Sacred Steel. Totally different sound. But that's what sort of attracted me to the instrument, was that instrumental, and then the other stuff came into. So, yeah.
Right. I see you brought a bouzouki.
We did. Now that belongs to Charles.
We have instruments go back and forth.
We do play our own instruments occasionally.
Yeah. Do you all live near each other on the north side?
We do.
Yes.
We used to live, in fact, about 4 houses apart for a few years when we first met.
Yeah, Stephen was the mysterious professional musician, lived a few houses, and I was like the little kid.
I'm still mysterious.
Who's that guy?
So let's talk a little bit about the bouzouki. Is that a uniquely bouzouki capo?
I don't know. It's sort of a one to use on 4-stringed instruments like mandolins and
a plectrum banjo, maybe.
Probably, if it fits. I think you can use it on anything that it can fit. On the neck. Yeah. I mean, this is a relatively new thing for me, and it's just sort of a natural thing for us to dive into. But I can't really. I got into the bouzouki, again, just still learning about it. I mean, I'm learning about everything, but just from Irish musicians, and there's a guy named Paul Brady and Andy Irvine. They did a record in the mid to late 70s, and those guys, especially Andy Irvine, he played a bouzouki, and they were in a band called Planxty.
Called what?
Planxty, Planxty. But they did a record as a duo. That's just that would be for me an all-time record, and it's pretty well known amongst people who like that stuff. But they played. I mean, I guess the bouzouki is a Greek instrument.
I think it's Greek, yeah.
And tuned a certain way. Somehow, I don't know, I think those guys I don't know if anyone was before them, but it made its way to Ireland and into the Irish folk music, traditional stuff. They started using it, and they tuned it a different way. And it's just a real ringing instrument. It's kind of like a mandolin in a way, but tuned lower. And I think you got that mic where you want it? Yeah.
Yep. It doesn't. It doesn't. It rolls off your.
It's not ergonomic. Yeah. They started to make them in more of a guitar shape, which is easier to play. But this also comes in handy on sessions. Just if you need something maybe to accompany a guitar. Me. I always like to play something other than a guitar or something that
That's a new color.
Yeah.
You know, you have these instruments, and it's part of your toolbox, you know, to get a different sound, a sonic palette, you know, to express a feeling, as you talked about earlier. You know, what's the emotion of the song? Here's a tune. This is from the new Long Ryders record that won't be out for a number of months, so this has never been heard before. A song called "Hand of Fate."
Okay, right.
1, 2, 3. Well, tell my love that when I'm gone, the hand of fate took me down. I put my heart on the line, and there it left me one last time. Now I leave a solemn song, sing it low when I'm gone. See the hand of fate, well, it took me down this time.
Woo, that's good. When does that come out?
It comes out in March on Cherry Red Records, and we're going to be, the Long Ryders will be playing a few weeks in May, mid-May, in Europe, and then we'll go back. You know, we'll play like UK, Scandinavia, and then we'll go back in the fall and do more southern Spain.
What are you going to do if the Jayhawks come?
Jayhawks, well, you know what? I'm so fortunate to be able to hook up with them when they call and I go out and play. I've been on a few of their albums. Yeah. And so they are able to exist. They have a nice pool of talent, you know. Well, the core band is amazing.
Sure.
And I'm always flattered when they call. And I mean, I've got so much else going on.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Different bands, this new records just came out. So, you know, yeah, they're out there doing it. They're playing, and they all have different projects, you know, themselves.
Right. So is it true that people who are good friends of yours will get early access to the Jayhawks record, Stephen? Come on,
well,
Stephen.
I'm not aware of one that's coming out. I can give you a greatest hits that I have. No, I'm
talking
really
about. I just think "Hand of Fate's" a particularly well-crafted tune.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
So,
I appreciate that.
Well, would you like to play one more song to take us out?
Sure. How about
you're gonna do regular?
You can't really talk.
Was that an open G or?
No, it's. I don't even know what. I don't think it has a. I dropped the A string down to G, so you're on point there. But then I got turn that down to C, so I can go, instead of doing a C chord like that, I'll take that one off and I'll go.
Right.
And it gives you a real pretty.
That's a great tuning.
Yeah, yeah. Whoops. Oh yeah, I love that, yeah. Again, give me the ringing strings anytime. I don't want to, there's one time I had to go up the neck and I was real disappointed. But yeah, I liked it. The more ringing, the happier I am.
Right, right.
It's kind of hard to talk about six-string guitar and the music that we grew up with without thinking of one of the masters. Who would that be, Leo?
Well, let me ring it up.
It all kind of rolls downhill from this guy for
would it be the famous
For rock and roll.
rock and roll? Yeah.
Chuck Berry?
Very good.
I wasn't set up
was
for
not
that or
rehearsed,
anything.
people.
Most impressive. That's good. Well, for me, you know, I thought I was fascinated with the Chuck Berry thing. I love the guitar playing. I love the catchy songs, but it was the rhythm of the records, and what I mean specifically is the, you know, if you've got a beat like 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, you know, you've got that beat going, you can cut that beat up into even pieces, or you can cut it up into thirds. So they call, when you play, you know, that's cut in 3 pieces, that's a shuffle. Here's the same tempo. Now, a little more straightforward, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So what was going on in the Chuck Berry records, and it's different on every record, is that the rhythm borrows some from the shuffle and some from the straight 4, and it's real slippery. It's in there somewhere. And maybe the drums are playing shuffle, and maybe the guitar is pushing the straight 4, or some other way. Usually the bass is doing 4 notes, you know, doing chord notes. 1, 2, 3. I was fascinated by that. And, and tried to figure out what was going on and tried to figure out a way to do it on guitar. I mean, it's been done. I just tried to figure it out for myself. And it's informed everything I play now, just because where to put the rhythm, where you put the pocket. Is it shuffle? Is it straight 4? Where in between? And you can't always really define it in words. You just sort of feel it a little bit. But anyhow, that's what Chuck Berry that's what I think of. And my friends probably are sick of me doing Chuck Berry, but I wrote a song that's kind of relates to us as musicians. It's called "It's Too Late Now," which is just about playing guitar and to the degree that you don't know how to do anything else, and you're stuck with it. So you ready? So we'll just kind of vamp out. When I was in school and I would get out of class, well, I would throw down my books and I would pick up my axe, and it's too late now. Yeah, it's too late now. Well, I just couldn't put my guitar down, Lord knows, and it's too late now. Well, I tried working jobs, but I just couldn't get ahead. With all them chords and fancy licks are running through my head, and it's too late now. Yeah, it's too late now. Well, I just couldn't put my guitar down, Lord knows, and it's too late now. I'll take one. Well, time's moving on, and I'm still playing in band. Well, I ain't no use in crying, gotta play out the hand, 'cause it's too late now. Yeah, it's too late now. Well, I couldn't put my guitar down, Lord knows, and it's too late now. Well, it's too late now. Yeah, it's too late now. Well, I just couldn't put my guitar down, Lord knows, and it's too late now. It's too late now. you got?
It's too late now.
Whoa. There you go. You have an audience here. Well, anyway, thank you so very much, Stephen McCarthy, Charles Arthur, for being part of Richmond Sessions 22-23. And thank everyone else for tuning in.
Yes. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure thing.